welcome to the food Q&A. Oh, I wonder if that'll be backwards on YouTube. You see how hard I tried for those bubble letters that just look like boobs? You guys actually crushed it so hard in these questions. I am blown away by the amount of questions we got. I'm so excited to answer them. First, Q-ski-doo. What is my favorite bell pepper color? I love yellow bell peppers because I love the color yellow. I have tulips right there because they're yellow. But something I learned so cool, the different colors of bell peppers are just their different stages of ripeness. What is my favorite cultural food? I love sushi. Oh, I love sushi so much. Oh, what makes it, this is such an existential question. What makes a scrambled egg good? I think it's gotta be big curds. That's what scrambled egg chunks are called. Some liquid, preferably dairy, like some whole milk splashed in there, cooked in butter. And I like hard scrambled eggs. I think soft scrambled eggs are gross. I don't care how good the egg is. I will eat an over medium egg and slurp that yolk up any day of the week, mama, but something about soft scrambled eggs, blech. So as long as they're cooked through, that's rule number one. Oh, and salt and pepper, duh. What foods do you have a traumatic memory attached to? Well, if you guys haven't seen my Lunchables video, there's a traumatic memory attached to that. But Bloody Marys, I actually have a really traumatic memory attached to. One time I was hungover and somebody was like, oh, let's do brunch, like, hey, we're the dog, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay, like I could go for a mimosa. And they said, no, we're gonna do Bloody Marys. And the thought, the word Bloody Mary entering my ear made me bleh. Not a good time. What are some of your favorite easy to make vegetarian dishes? I'm gonna plug myself here. I love making the spring rolls. I've made those twice this week. I love a good salad, dude. So chill. Also, Trader Joe's has great salad kits if you don't feel like doing the whole thing, because sometimes salad is like a little complex, like a lot of stuff. Oh my gosh, I love this question. What is your favorite bite? Like the first bite of a nacho or the last bite of a salad where every ingredient is still in it or something like that. My favorite bite. This is coming to mind right now. I'm sure I have a million, but oh my God. So you know when you're eating ramen and you have your spoon with the soup in it and you have your noodles like tweedled, spun up onto your chopsticks, and you've got a little bit of soup and a little bit of the vegetable that's in the ramen broth and a little bit of meat and a little, like an eighth of your soft boiled egg in the soup, and then you take your noodles, you take the soup. It's like a perfect mini bowl of ramen in your mouth. I love that. What's your favorite bite? Leave that in the comments. I am so curious to hear. Favorite healthy food? A lot of food is healthy, honestly. Like a nice balanced meal, healthy. A giant salad, healthy. Like a lot of things are healthy in different ways, but my favorite like classically healthy food is probably like tofu and steamed veggies. Brilliant. Food that smells bad while you're cooking it, but tastes amazing. Pickles. The overwhelming vinegar, pepper, garlic smell that like completely overtakes your kitchen and house and neighbor's house when you're making pickles it like singes your nose hairs off, but a homemade pickle, bitch? Oh, I love this Q&A. I want to do this forever. Favorite memory surrounding food in LA? Oh my God, what a magical problem I'm having. I have so many wonderful memories around food in Los Angeles. I'll go with this one. There was a sushi spot in the Valley we grew up going to. It was like half price sushi, so it was like really well priced, and we would go to dinner there like once a month, but I really enjoyed that. Like I have a lot of very fond memories of me, my dad, my mom and my brother just like going to half price sushi. So that was a good one. A lot of good food memories. Come to LA, eat some food. Ooh. Food I associate with a specific memory. It's funny, I'm drinking Topo Chico right now because I can never and will never see or hear about or drink a Topo Chico without thinking of my mom. She's from Texas, and Topo Chico is like such a popular thing out there. It has been forever, like way before like big sparkling water craze of a couple years ago. They also have hard seltzers, so they jumped on that wagon too, which good for them. So yeah, it just reminds me of my mom. She always has Topo Chico in her fridge. It's always like the first thing I grab when I get home to her house after like the plane ride and stuff. I always get Topo Chico. So Oh my gosh, what a great question. How many ways have you eaten potatoes? Can you name all of them? Okay. French fries, scallop potatoes, baked potatoes, mashed Florentine. Potatoes. I'm gonna count potatoes. Those chips. Weird potatoes they put on a stick. Croquettes, oh my god. Croquettes. That's 15. God, potatoes are good. I've eaten a potato raw once. Don't recommend. Cake versus pie? Cake. Oh, what's one recipe you are scared or intimidated to try? I'm very intimidated to try croissants. I am super intimidated, but I really want to do it. Leave in the comments if you want me to make a croissant video and I'll take you along that journey. Favorite spicy food? I like really spicy ramen. Oh, I like spicy wings. I like when my wings are really spicy. And I like my Thai food to be really spicy. Oh my gosh, what a great question. What is overmixing and how do I avoid this? I feel like that's the issue with my cookies. Overmixing is when there's too much gluten formed. Gluten, I don't know why I'm pronouncing the T so hard in that. Thing about gluten that's amazing is that it's really chewy. That's what gives bread its nice like chew and like toothsomeness, but you don't want chewy toothsomeness in a cookie. A lot of recipes will say mix until it just comes together. That's kind of the best. Add your dry ingredients if you're using a stand mixer and just pulse them in until it looks like it's barely starting to combine, and then you can just pull it off and just kind of fold it in together until it's like a cohesive dough or batter or whatever, because you're probably right. If your cookies aren't turning out the way you want, overmixing is such a common mistake. So great question. My cookies don't spread evenly even if I follow the recipe exactly. Help. So what I'm imagining to happen, because a lot of times cookies spread too much and that's people's frustration. So what I'm thinking might be happening is there's probably too much flour. And if you're just going into your flour with your measuring cup and then plopping that into your dry ingredient mixture, you probably have too much. So I would suggest either getting a scale and using the metric weights of the recipe, just so it can be exact, or use the spoon and level method that I've shown you guys, where you have your measuring cup, you have your thing of flour, and you take a separate spoon and put it into the measuring cup and then level it off, because that's going to keep your flour a lot more light and fluffy and less compacted. So try that. Bucket list food, city, or country that you want to visit ASAP. I want to go to Paris so badly. I also really want to go to Italy, and I really want to go to Japan. So if anyone wants to take me. Every time I make Joshua Weissman's bun recipe, they come out super dense and not golden. I would imagine maybe you're not kneading enough. This isn't to point fingers. I have often had a hard time like knowing when I've kneaded enough. And so you can do the window pane test, which is when you take a little piece of your dough and stretch it out. And if it stretches enough where you can see a shadow behind it, then it's good. Or it's possible that maybe you overproofed the buns, which means they were out for too long and the yeast got working too much while it wasn't in the oven. So kind of all of its power ran out before it even got the chance to bake and rise and get pretty. In terms of them getting golden, make sure you're doing an egg wash on top. You definitely want to do like egg with some water mixed up and brushed on top. It's worth it. It makes them shiny and golden and beautiful. And his recipes are amazing. So I'm certain there's just like a miscommunication somewhere, because I've made his bun recipe and I really enjoy them. So maybe try kneading a little more, really doubling down on making sure you're proofing for long enough, and using that egg wash. Thoughts on kimchi? I love kimchi. I think it's incredible. Delicious. That's another spicy food I really like. Ugh, Korean food is so good. Oh my gosh, what's my favorite thing I've made on Dead Dad's Kitchen? There will always be a very special place in my heart for the spaghetti and meatball recipe, which was my first video ever, my first introduction to Dead Dad's Kitchen, my first foray into YouTube, so that was huge. I really love the episodes where Dave Ross has come on, where my brothers come on, where Christians come on. Like I've had so many incredible fun experiences with people coming on the show, and I cannot wait for that to happen again. Oh, favorite popsicle flavor? Grape, cherry, or orange? Orange, but it might be because that was my dad's and he's dead, so I miss him, and I try to now eat orange popsicles and find meaning in them. Oh my gosh, what's my favorite thing to make with cauliflower? Great question. I love pickled cauliflower. Jake Cohen, but he has an incredible roasted cauliflower recipe that like could absolutely eat a whole ass head of cauliflower with. So delicious. Oh my gosh, I love this question. What's a food you don't love but you wish you did? I wish I loved eggplant. I think that that's a very cool food to love. I wish I loved figs. I feel like those are very like cool woman foods to eat. And, and I don't not like them. They're just absolutely not my favorite. So I wish I liked those. What about you? What are some foods you wish you like? Oh, this is a good one. Is there a difference between sherbet and sorbet? Yes, there is a difference. Sherbet, which I would love to be saying sherbet, but it's not the right name. Sherbet has milk in it. It's not enough milk to be considered ice cream, but it's like fruit and milk based versus sorbet is just fruit based. There's no dairy in sorbet. I love sorbet. Oh my gosh, another great question. Is there a difference between baking powder and baking soda? Yes, there is. Baking powder already contains the acid that is needed to make something rise. That's why you don't need yeast in pancakes necessarily. You can just add baking powder and it makes them all puffy and nice. Baking soda needs an activator, so buttermilk or lemon juice or an acid to make that reaction happen. It's not necessarily a substitute if you're like, oh, I want to make cookies, but I only have baking powder. I'll just use that instead. Doesn't really work the same. I also heard on some Martha Stewart thing once somewhere that one thing you can kind of think of is like powder puffs, soda spreads. So if you're trying to make something that you need to like puff up and get nice and light and fluffy, you use your baking powder because baking soda will just... So yeah, that's the difference. Whoa, what food makes you think of high school? My high school had this thing called Coup Bears. Oh my gosh, please, if you guys had this, let me know. I tweeted about it once, and I guess it's very much just a school I went to thing, but maybe you had it too. It was gummy bears that had Kool-Aid powder on them and maybe like a little bit of like lemon juice or water or something to make it like gooey, and they were Kool-Aid gummy bears, so they called them Coup Bears. That makes me think of high school, even though I have never had them again since 2010, but also, anybody who grew up in Los Angeles, the LAUSD coffee cake. It's a crowning culinary achievement. I don't care what anybody says, that slapped. It was so good. Truly like a perfect pastry in my opinion. They made 9,000 of them a day, so. Best oil to pan fry with. Do you want something that has a high smoke point so it's not gonna be setting off your fire alarms and burning stuff? And olive oil does not have a very high smoke point. I sometimes fry in olive oil, it's not the end of the world. Canola oil, vegetable oil have a little bit higher of a smoke point than olive oil. Sunflower oil has a much higher smoke point. How to make brownies not cakey but fudgy. Do not like a cakey brownie. If I wanted cake, I would eat cake. Make sure you are using whole real eggs and like probably more than you think you need. I do have a brownie recipe that I love so much. I'm very proud of that recipe. So that's delicious, always comes out with fudgy brownies. Also, you can take your brownies out of the oven halfway through baking for like 10 to 15 minutes and then put them back in the oven. Something about the science of that makes them very fudgy. And you might just be using too much flour. Brownies need very little flour compared to like how much other gunk is in them. So think about those things. Do I like Dippin' Dots? Am I alive? Am I breathing? Am I a human woman? Yes! Is pineapple on pizza real pizza? I mean, it's real pizza. I just don't think it's very good, but like, eat what you want. I'm not eating it. Oh, brownie ends or brownie middle? I think the perfect brownie is not the corner, too much edge, but not the center, no edge. One side piece that has one edge, three middles, blah, blah, blah. How to get your blueberries from not sinking to the bottom of your cake pan when you're making something with blueberries in it. Save a little bit of your dry ingredients. Reserve that because your blueberries will be going in at the end anyway. So take your washed blueberries, or your frozen blueberries or whatever, put them in the reserved 2-3 tablespoons of dry ingredients. Start to swish that around, like shake it up, flip it, get it all covered. So each blueberry should have a coating of the dry ingredients. Then fold the blueberries into your batter. The dry ingredient outside coating should help stick into the batter. Love that you asked that. Let me know if it works. Let me know if you try that and that helps it. Would you rather cook a whole Thanksgiving feast or try to make bagels again? I am going to try to make bagels again no matter what. I will be the bagel queen of Los Angeles. Mark my words. Favorite pasta shape? Impostable. I love me some bucatine. I love mini penne. I love linguine. I am a linguine queenie, as we all know. Farfalle is a little tricky. To get that center cooked of the bow tie. My cookies are always burnt at the bottom but fine on the top. I add parchment paper and follow the recipe with time and temperature. Why? it's likely that your cookie sheet is getting too hot itself. So if your cookie sheet is dark, that's probably the reason. Really dark aluminum, anything like that will be tricky and will hold more heat, so it'll cook the bottom of your cookies faster. So I would suggest getting a different baking sheet. What foods are just better at a restaurant? That's a great question. Chinese food's always better at a restaurant in my opinion. Thai food, Indian food. Maybe this is because like I don't have the knowledge and the experience to make these foods really well myself, and that's definitely something I could work on. But it's also something like I really like going to like an Indian food place and like supporting that business, and like sometimes it's better to have things that you can't make at home because it's like a treat when you get to go get it. This is a great question. I need easy ways to spice up my ramen packets. I love packaged ramen. This is my favorite packaged ramen. So when you're cooking it, always, 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 I cannot stand when people do not put their seasoning packet in the water before the noodles. That's rule number one. Have your water boiling, put your seasoning packet in it, then put your noodles in. That way your noodles can start to get more flavor. Rule number two, add an egg directly into the broth. That way your egg's getting seasoned and it's getting nice and poached, and it'll still have that nice runny, jammy yolk. And add veggies, add some broccoli in there. Great question. Okay, let's do one more. I've tried making homemade cookies. They taste good, but the texture is more cakey than it is cookie-like. Why is this? It's likely that you're using too much flour, or like we talked about in the beginning of the video, you might be overmixing your dough. Really check how much flour you're using. Let's say the recipe calls for 3 cups of flour, and every time you make it with 3 cups of flour, no matter how much you weigh it or it seems perfect, it's just not coming out the way you want, take out half a cup of flour. See if that helps. You guys, these questions were so great. I loved this video and I loved everything that you sent in. So please, please let me know if you want another one like this, because I had such a great time filming it. I will see you guys soon, and leave a bunch of comments and tell me if you used any of these tips. I'll see you soon. Bye.